This is Scattered Matters. I'm Scat.
And I'm Maddie.
The other day, a buddy of mine, Doug, jokingly asked,
Have you ever thought about what would happen if every person on Earth jumped into the ocean at the same time?
Wait, what? Like, all of us line up along the shore and then cannonball?
Exactly. Every single person right on the edge of the ocean. 1, 2, 3.
I'm listening. But would we even fit? I mean, there's only so much coastline on Earth.
Good question. I looked it up. Get this, the total coastline of all the oceans is around 372,000 miles. That's like going around the world at least 15 times. Now, that sounds huge, but if you do the math, it's actually not that much space for 8 billion people.
How much space does that actually give each person?
Well, here's the breakdown. Let's convert miles to yards so it's easier to picture. Since there are 1,760 yards in a mile, we multiply 372,000 miles by 1,760. That gives us 654.7 million yards. That's like more than 6.5 million football fields. If we divide that by 8 billion, each person would get about 0.0008 yards of space, or about 1/3 of an inch.
You're kidding. 1/3 of an inch?
Yeah, pretty tight squeeze. Imagine shoulder to shoulder with everyone's toes just touching the water. It's like the ultimate beach day, but with absolutely zero legroom.
So basically, we're all crammed together, waiting for our turn to jump in. The most epic, uncomfortable lineup in history.
Yup. And with everyone standing at the edge, we've basically made the world's longest human chain. It would stretch across every coastline, all around the continents.
So, we're all lined up, packed like sardines. But what happens when we finally jump into the ocean?
We interrupt this program with an important announcement.
98% of humans watching YouTube videos do not subscribe. It costs them nothing to subscribe, but it can be life-changing for others if they do. So please help us out. Subscribe, like, and follow now.
We now return you to the regularly scheduled programming.
But what happens when we finally jump into the ocean?
There'd be underwater chaos. Imagine being a fish just minding your business when suddenly there's this tidal wave of screaming, splashing humans crashing down.
Every fish within 10 miles would be like, nope, I'm out of here, and dart to the deep end. They'd be watching us from afar. They'd be thinking the crazy land creatures are at it again.
Yeah, we'd probably be the worst kind of party crashers to marine life. All the fish, dolphins, everything would just swim away and wait for the weird surface creatures to leave.
Right? And they'd be telling stories about this for years, like,
remember that time that humans thought they could swim?
And think about all that shouting and breathing. With that many people, we'd be releasing a big puff of CO2 all at once.
So we're creating like a human-made carbon bomb?
Well, that's the funny part. It would be like adding a single teaspoon of sugar to an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Just a blip to Mother Nature. She'd probably just roll her eyes.
Meanwhile, we'd be convinced that we had just changed the world with our impact, and Mother Nature would just shrug us off.
But let's talk about the real challenge here. Actually getting 8 billion people to the ocean. Imagine the traffic.
Oh, it would be pure madness. The beach parking lots alone would be a nightmare. You'd spend half a day in line just to get your spot at the edge of the water. People camping out overnight like it's some big concert.
And then, by the time the last wave of people even make it to the shore, the first wave would already be drying off on the beach, slightly confused and feeling very salty.
So what actually happens to the ocean?
Okay, so here's where things get less impressive. 8 billion people all jumping into the ocean would cause the sea level to rise by 0.002 inches.
Geez, 2/1000ths of an inch? That's like half a grain of sand's worth of water displacement. Enough to mildly inconvenience a hermit crab.
Exactly. We'd all be cheering, thinking we'd created this massive splash, but the ocean would be like, did something just happen? It's like we're collectively that person who does a huge cannonball only to make a tiny little splash.
So if you're lucky, you might get your socks wet.
Pretty much. Picture it. Waves about a foot tall at best. Somewhere a surfer would get hyped for like 2 seconds, only to realize it's the lamest wave ever.
And the rest of us are out there in life jackets, thrashing around like we're in the biggest water park on Earth, wondering why we thought this was a good idea. Basically, we'd spend all this time and effort just to feel wet and disappointed.
Exactly. And the ocean would give us a look like, really? That's all you got? Then getting right back to its regular schedule of tides, storms, and actual big waves.
Yeah, we'd have the tiniest of splashes, a bunch of freaked out fish, an unimpressed planet, and 8 billion wet humans who all realize this might have been a huge waste of time.
Yeah, We'd be standing there, drip drying on the shore, realizing we made the world's most ambitious plan for absolutely nothing.
All right. Mental note. If we ever get an invitation for a global 8 billion cannonball challenge, just say no.
Agreed. Sometimes the wildest ideas are best left as just that. Ideas.
Please remember to subscribe. Go ahead, push that button. You know you want to.